So schools and public health facilities are failing to observe the phased sugary drinks ban introduced by the government just over 3 years ago that was largely designed to improve the health of the nation's children and address Jamaica's struggle with non-communicable diseases. Long opening. Here to discuss the effect the sugary drinks ban has on our schools is President of the Jamaica Independent Schools Association, Dr. Dyer. Morning, sir. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. How are you?
Morning. I'm doing well. Hope everyone is doing well as well.
Yeah, man. Thanks. So what do you know? 3 years ago it came in. Did anyone take it up at that time, or we were just running until we get caught type of thing? What do you know?
No, well, for GISO, we were definitely planning ahead. So we had spoken to our suppliers. We did because schools have to do their Ministry of Health checks every September. So we went through our checklist, we went through the product list, we saw what products we could and could not sell in our canteens, and we pretty much made the adjustments from there for the most part. When you think of Jamaica as a whole, obviously you're restricted by your suppliers on what your suppliers offer. So that was the only hiccup we had as an organization 3 years ago going into the ban.
Doc, let's set the baseline now, right? Because let's talk about what should have been implemented. According to the cabinet-approved interim guidelines for beverages in schools prepared by the ministry, sweetened beverages would be deemed as being in excess of the sugar limit and prohibited from being sold or served in schools if the total sugar concentration exceeded 5 grams per 100 milliliters as at January 1, 2019, right? Which
Right.
I think would disqualify most drinks outside of water. I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. But according to Dunstan Bryan, who's the PS in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, he said the January 2021 sugar concentration limit was never implemented because of COVID.
Well, I'd have to disagree there with the never, unless he's talking about a specific branch of the education industry. But private schools, we were on top of it because we do get inspected more. We get everything more. Yeah. So, we had to be on top of it because remember, we operate in a private sector where we have to check boxes every academic year. Yeah. So we were definitely on top of it.
What about public schools?
I don't know. I can't really speak about the public schools. I can only speak on the schools that I know of, that I have a partner, that we partnership with. Yeah. But just on a whole, we were geared up going into it because we had our principal conferences. We spoke about it. We compared products that we didn't even know were on the market. We started looking at those. So to say never is a very strong approach.
In an earlier response, you said for the most part, you guys have got it right. So which part you don't get right yet?
All right. So when I say for the most part, remember, we're talking about the island as a whole. And then you have different suppliers. You have suppliers that don't venture past Kingston and St. Catherine. And then you have suppliers that are just on the North Coast. So when I say for the most part, you have to think about what products are available in those regions to those schools and the adjustments that they had to make. Just being in Kingston, we're the city, we think that the products that we are exposed to and we're available to, it's available island-wide. That's not the case.
So what are you getting that you don't want to get? Let me put it that way, because as you said, there are certain things that you just don't control, I suspect, right?
Right. And coming out of COVID, sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
So, coming out of COVID, things happen. We have producers of the products that, their factories weren't going at full tilt during COVID. And then schools reopen, they can't manage the demand. Right. So, for example, I don't want to name any products or suppliers. So there's a drink that I usually have in my school. You order your usual amount, and they say, hey, we can't supply you this week because we just don't have the amount in the warehouse. Wow. And then another school that didn't have any last week, they're going to give it to that school. So we have to navigate that. So about 2 weeks this year, I pretty much just had water and a specific box drink in our refrigerator. And then the following week, our fridge is completely full. But then the week after that, you go back to having water and something else. So you're kind of navigating what your suppliers can give you. Yeah. Trying to keep in tandem with what the Ministry of Health has pushed out.
Yeah, I know to save money and stuff, some parents will give their kids lunch. Yes. And do you monitor that also, or that's you don't care whether they come with the sweetest drink in life?
Depends on the school. For my school, what we do is we will look on how much they've been given. So we'll give them they'll have a small soda or the small juice box.
Yeah.
But if we see like 2 juice boxes in there, we take one and we go, this one is going back home, because you can't have 2 juice boxes and the other things that are in your lunch kit. So for my institution, I can say that we monitor what their intake per day, but I can't speak on all institutions.
So you're presenting the Jamaica Independent Schools Association. How many schools would fall under your remit, and what percentage of schools would you say of that number, what percentage is compliant with what's going on here with the sugary drinks?
So we started this term, our term restarted in April 25th. We have about 150 schools that are presently operating island-wide. Compliant, I would love to say 100%, but again, we have to look at those regions. Our popular region, Region 1, Region 6, which is your Kingston, St. Catherine, we are on top of it because we deal with the big supply chains. If you know where the drinks come from, I don't want to say any names. Right. Those supply chains can manage. But again, once you go out of region, it's what those smaller companies can handle. And then you really have to look on the human side of things. If there's nothing in your refrigerator as a private institution, and your canteen has to sell X amount to pay X employees, you are going to put things in your fridge. There's just no way around that, because people need to get paid every fortnight.
Yeah.
So
options. I mean, you're talking. You have audience now. You have a platform to talk to the big manufacturers. As you say, we know who they are. Formulations can change. Right. You can have your standard formulation and a variant or a SKU, as they call it, for maybe another market. Is this something, Sir Dyer, that you'd want to perhaps call on them to do? I know some have been trying to do this, but is it something that you need to see on a wider scale so that you can stock the fridge with the healthier options and be in line with what the government is trying to do?
Right. So GISA's theme for this academic year is building partnerships. So even if you are a small-time supplier, you don't have that reach and you'd like to expand, give us a call, because we have schools who need products. All right. So give us a call, reach out to the GISA office, send us an email, send us your proposal. Let's go through your products and then let's see what products meet the requirements of the Ministry of Health. And we'll put you in touch with our institutions. Yep. And it's win-win. We'll get our products, you'll get a new customer base. So please reach out to us, because realistically, coming out of COVID, some of our suppliers cannot handle the demand.
Yep. Final question, I need a quick answer, sir. How much control do you have over the folks who sell at your gates?
Well, there's nobody selling at my gates. But I mean, again, it comes down to community and so forth. Different institutions have different agreements with those around them in their surrounding communities. Right. I mean, I don't want to say any school names, but Neville, I play against your school all the time near the Hero Circle. Yep. We used to have our vendors in proximity because they came from the neighboring communities. Yep. And you just reach out and support the community. But my school right now, there's nobody at my gates, but every school is different.
Seems there's an opportunity here for a manufacturer. Yep. Maybe just should make and brand their own juices. Yep. Dr. Dyer, never know. There's an opportunity here, right? There's always one in the crisis.
Thank you, sir.
Something you can look into.
I want to read something just before we go. Thank you, Dr. Dyer. This comes from the Honourable Minister, Tufton. He says, and I quote, "We have a sick population and sick in terms of being clinically ill in terms of underlying conditions. 1 in 3 Jamaicans are hypertensive, 1 in 3 high blood pressure, 1 in 8 diabetic, 1 in 2 obese or overweight." I will read that again.
Those stats are frightening.
1 in 3 are hypertensive.
30%.
1 in 8 diabetic and 1 in 2 overweight. We're killing off ourselves, believe it or not. Important.
Thank you, Dr. Dyer. Dr. Andre Dyer, President of the Jamaica Independent Schools Association. On the other side of the break, we're talking about computer science and coding.